YouTube is live. Alright, so checking the canister supplies. We have not a huge amount, but probably enough. Enough at least to get us started. So today we have aluminum to set up, which means obviously attaching various things. So if we head over here, is the water supply good? Because that's one of the things we need over here is packaged water. We have the bauxite, so we need to check packaged water and crude oil. So if we look in here, yes, this has been all maxed out. Very cool. The next thing we need to check is crude oil, which I believe is all the way down here. Alright. And yep, plenty. Alright, so then the last thing we need is hang on. No, it's probably fine. I just realized that the canister cycling is going to be a bit weird because I'm not packaging crude oil and water over here, but I'm going to be returning the canisters to over here. So I might need to... Let me think. Okay, so I had previously planned on having this be its own separate thing, and I even gone out of my way to build that. In order to actually use this... In order to use this canister return, I would need the packaged fuel and packaged water to be made in this side of the city, whereas currently they're obviously made over there. Or I would need to take them in trucks from here back to there. No, that seems overly complicated. Trying to think of how to make this work. I don't really want to have to set up secondary packaging sites. But if I don't do that, then the canisters will just all end up being destroyed, effectively. Or I'll have to return this back over to the main storage. Alright, I think the most sensible option is to have secondary water and oil packaging sites. Which is annoying, but what you gonna do? We're over water anyway, and this will also help us distribute out. The water especially has sort of massive production quantities. Distributing this out to a second location will be nice. Alright, so let's first we need to put the canisters into there. Then we need to make the water and crude oil packaging sites. And then we need to turn the crude oil into... what is it? The polymer resin or something? No, petroleum coke, right? It's literally written on screen right now. And then I have to take all of those and combine them to make aluminum. I also need to get fuel over there to fill the tractors, but that's not going to be a concern. So, yeah, if we check these, we've got 2.5 there, and I believe it's technically not fully balanced. We have 3.5 up here because reasons. But hopefully that should be enough that filling up the new storage doesn't completely destroy everything. Now I want to split this so that this remains relatively even. So we're going to use this side. Transport. Tractor. In you go. Give me some more fuel. Fuel you up. Alright. Let's drive the tractor route. Out we go. And around. We just need to get all the way down to the end of the road. The canister turn is right over there. So we just need to loop into that and then return. Alright, there it is. Alright, so we turn around here. Don't quite make that turn perfectly smoothly, but whatever. Then we unload and loop back around and head out and back to the canister turn. Alright, we are stuck in traffic, annoyingly. Alright, where exactly is it? I think we're a road too far back. Still stuck behind a tractor, which is moving slowly. Right, finally turns. Alright, so I think we need to take the long way around here. So I think if we go around this, we should wind up on the right side of the road. I'm not entirely sure. Alright, no, I think I might be wrong. Yep, we needed to turn earlier. Not a big deal. The path will be slightly longer than it needs to be, but that's completely manageable. Alright. Don't get hit by a tractor. Make the turn. And back. Alright, save this path as canisters to interface. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And send it off. Alright. And there it goes, and my poor canister supply is going to massively deplete from this. But it's fine. That's what the supply is for, and it's also what the new production is for. So this is going to have to fill, or at least start filling all of those storage containers over in the new factory. And while we're doing that, we can move over here and start setting up the new water packaging, which I believe I really need to... I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix the stupid blueprint for that. The water packaging blueprint, and I think the oil packaging blueprint as well, is simply not fully designed properly. Like, I think I forgot to connect the outputs up. So we're going to go back to the blueprint designer and fix that. So that'll be a nice problem solved forever. Alright, so we get to the hypertube here. And then this will take us slightly faster down to the blueprint designer. Alright, here we are. Load up Water Packager V2. Where's Water Packager V2? Is it down in this section? No. Is it up in this section? There it is. Right up at the top. Alright, so let's find the entrance to this. It's not a standardized blueprint, obviously. Can't realistically be that. Alright, so we have all that. We head back here. So we need to set these to make packaged water. And then let's just paste the settings. Dang it, I copied instead of pasted. Alright. So then we just need to put the mergers in. Alright. That last one isn't aligned properly. So now we put conveyor belts in. And why would you do that? Then this main line comes up this way. The bottom floor comes out somewhere over there. And merges up with this line. And we're not going to be able to put the final wall hole in, probably. Actually, can we? We can. That's convenient. I assumed that that would be impossible. Alright. So we have that. And now we just have to go and do the same thing for the bottom floor. Which does have a door. So we take this down. Pop that in there. And we paste the settings. Alright, that should be good. We should just be able to save this and have this at least somewhat functional now. Alright, saved, cleared. And now back up to make it. And I don't need much water for this first project. So I'll probably only need one packager for each. So let's head on over. I need to bring some pipes along to get water to the new packager, obviously. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Like, we are currently building right next to the ocean and also right on top of this lake. So actually, is that a summer sloop down there? It is. I'll grab that in a second. Alright, so first off, we need to expand out these roads. So let's just move this a little bit. Now let's actually just have it be one road section over. And then have the intersections here. Alright. That was supposed to be... Oh. Okay. I made a mistake. I flew too far away from the power. Now I need to get back. I also wasn't able to swap to the jetpack fast enough to save myself. So let's bring a ladder up real quick. Alright, back to the coffee cup. Alright, we ladder on up. And we jetpack over. Now we need an intersection there. And a road. So, the first thing we need is the water packager, which... Let's see. Can we technically fit it in here? We'd have the input and the output in one box. Now, that seems like it seems a bit cramped. Water is almost certainly going to be heavily used in this section of the factory. So let's have the water packager be here going this way. So set back to default. And plop that in. So that will be... So we need one truck stop for water input, one truck stop for... We need one truck stop for canister input, one truck stop for water output, and then one tile for the actual factory itself. Don't need anything else. So let's pop this here and put the truck stops in. Right, industrial beam supply. I cannot wait until we have aluminum set up and I can use that as my max speed belt and not have to worry about industrial beams which don't stack to anything. Alright. Almost there. Just another 10 or so more. 5, 6, 7. Alright, so we have the new truck stops in. Now we need to bring power over to them. So we bring power over, put a couple of intermediary power lines just for convenience. Alright, now those are hooked up. So now we need billboards for these. And we need to label them. So we're not actually going to be using that packaged water input as an input. So that's a little bit more complications. from that, but it's fine. Alright. I should switch back to hover pack. So this is output package water. Select package water. And now we paste this to all the relevant blueprints. And this is the empty canister input. Empty canisters. Select canister. Now we paste this to all the relevant blueprints. Billboards, not blueprints. Alright, now we run this along. And also pop the road in. Have it go a bit more, and then an intersection. And floor tile. And now we can put our new water packager Mark II, which is short on concrete. Fortunately, we happen to have the concrete input right there. So let's grab some of this. Just grab a couple of those stacks. And if we're short on concrete, we're probably also going to be short on iron plates. So we'll grab a couple of those just so that it can continue refilling. Now, put the water packager Mark II in. I can't see where the output is. Alright, I think I see it there. It's on the left. Alright, so we have that in. Now we have to power it on. So let's hop in here, find a power line. Alright. So that should be that set up. The next thing we need to do is attach the canisters. So let's actually check over here to see if this is working at all. Right, no sign of any canisters there. No sign of any canisters there, but there are tons there. Alright, so if there are a lot of canisters there, but none of them are making it anywhere else, then where have they gone? Oh, did I not set up these smart splitters? Right. Yeah, okay. I remember that when I did this, I had these extraneous smart splitters which aren't necessary. So if I just set all of these to left overflow, then it will start working properly. And of course, these storage here aren't actually going to start filling until we have some canister return happening. So right now this is just a very, very complicated way of belting from there to there. But we now should have that covered. Yep, canisters are starting to show up. Not quite evenly among the two sides, but close enough probably. Alright, so then the next thing we need to do is... Well, first of all, we need to make all of these things red. Red. If I copy and paste those settings, then that, okay, doesn't work. So yeah, I need to just manually change all of these to say output and be red. And this was Caterium, not iron. Output Caterium ingots and select colors red. Alright, I'm probably just not going to bother fixing all of this immediately. Instead, I am going to work on the next thing I need to do, which is the fuel. So I need to fuel pretty much all of these new sections in order for me to actually be able to run truck networks between them. And that will take a while, so we should get started now. So we have this. And how much is this currently using? Like 60? Which means we're going to be getting like 60 total over to there. It's going to take forever to fill up like all these truck stops, but it'll be fine. So let's take a splitter off of, say, this one. And start driving it over. And before we get all the way over there, actually, well, first let's just run this foundation real quick. But we need to actually put in the fuel lines for all of these. So, boom. Up you go. And line it up approximately and in. Then the next one. Boom. Up you go, and in. We just have to do that for all of these. Boom. Drag it up, and in. Place that, drag it up, and in. And I'll do one more set and then get it started actually moving them. It's going to take a while to fill all of those guys up. Alright, so now that we have at least a couple, we can head over here and start lining this fuel up to go in. Then extend this a little bit. I want these to be Mark IIs just for speed's sake, because sometimes we'll have more than enough. Alright, so we need the fuel line to run along this way. Bring that across. Then we bring all of these down. And over here at these edges, it's fine for this to be Mark I belts. So then we have that splitter there, which feeds into that and that. And then this belt continues along this way. So then we need a splitter here, which goes that way. And I put this splitter in facing the wrong direction. So it needs to be oriented like that. Alright, then we run this line across here. And do the same thing for this side. Alright, so then this comes down. It gets a splitter, although I really don't like that. Actually, hang on. Alright, we are able to get that to fit in there. So then this comes along this way. And we put another conveyor lift there. And another splitter there. And we hook those up. And we just have one more of those to do. The conveyor lift there. Splitter there. So that all hooks up. And that should be fuel supplied. It's looking intermittent here for some reason. Is that just because it's also being used elsewhere? No, it's because this is a Mark I belt. Let's do that. Alright, so we have fuel now moving to this area. We'll give it a little bit of time to get ahead and get all set up. Not too much, pretty much just once this starts filling up that. It shouldn't require that much fuel. Like, the entire side has way more stuff than this, and it only requires like 60 fuel total. Just the process of filling it up is going to take a while. So once we start seeing fuel in here, then we'll be good to go. Alright. It's probably... These closer ones are probably good enough now. The canister ones should be fine in particular. Yep, there's 15 fuel there, 17 fuel there. Alright, so now we just need to run a tractor line over to there and then hook that up to water, which is down there somewhere probably. And then that will be that. So, transport, tractor. and give it some starter fuel. And we load up there, drive around real quick to this. Alright, this is probably a mistake. I probably should have gotten off of the interface street immediately, but I also don't think it's a huge deal. The traffic's probably not going to be that bad. Alright, we load them up. And then we loop around and get back. Alright, there's the canister output right ahead of us. So we just take this U-turn, and we'll be there. Alright, so we save that as canisters to water V2? No, probably V3 technically. So we enable that autopilot, hide the path nodes, and off you go. I said off you go. There we go. Yep. So now I just need to get water into this thing. And if I pull up the map, we are pretty much directly on top of a lake. So that is quite convenient. In fact, I see a Mercer Sphere and a Summer Sloop from here. That's quite funny. But first, so we actually already have this ladder here, which is quite convenient. So we need to set up the area where the water comes in, which I need to put the roads around this, just so that it has the space. Alright, so we have that. And you need to do that here as well. And expand this road out so that it comes past here and lines up with that intersection over there. Alright, so that's that. Now we just need to set that to unload, obviously. That's important. So that it will actually deposit canisters here. So we take those, go in there. That goes in there. Alright, now we just need to get the water supply. So if we... Let's see, where do I want this to go? If I put it in the wrong place, it'll be in the way for the tractors moving about. So I think I want the floor hole to be, like, around here, actually. So let's do that. And then come down here and need a wall. So we put a wall in, drag that down a little bit. Put a nice little foundation there. And bring the pipe out and down. And it's just barely too long to reach all the way to the ground, so let's continue building this wall down a little bit more and out a little bit more and down to there. And then finally down to there, and we've made it to ground level. Alright, now we need to fly up and get power poles down there so that I can make it back. Alright, so we have a power pole there and a power pole there, so now I should be able to hover pack in this vicinity. So now we put in water extractors.
Think
1,
you could build more.
2, 3, and 4. And then we combine them up. This is very convenient to do from up here. And then combine that to there. Right, now we power the water extractors by just attaching these. 3 and 4. Alright, so that is all that. Let's get the pumps figured out. Actually, before I get the pumps figured out, let's head over here. Blow up some of these poison plants. I missed somehow. And get this summer sloop. And there's a Mercer Sphere. Alright, so now we should be able to approach the summer sloop from this side. Cool. Summer sloop acquired, and I believe I saw a Mercer Sphere just over here, so let's also head over and grab that. Gotten out of range of power temporarily, but we're back into range of power from the other water extractors. Alright, so now we head back over here. And let's get these pipeline pumps sorted. So it's very difficult to tell how far up the natural pump from the water goes. So I'm just going to put it there. And then I can see that it goes this way. It's really convinced that it wants me to put the pumps on backwards, despite the fact that that makes no sense whatsoever. Alright, so then the pumps are pumping. And I don't know if that will make it all the way up to the very top. It looks like it is. So it also looks, though, like this is not currently running. Why is that? No, it is. I don't know why it looked like it wasn't. But it is definitely taking in empty canisters, now putting packaged water. Alright. So that's that. Packaged water production setup. Easy as pie. Alright, next up we need to do the same thing for crude oil, which will be a very marginally more complicated. Alright, we also need to get this bauxite up and onto the foundation. I've sort of stuck a random factory right there. So let's do that next. Let's grab encased industrial beams just into my inventory first. So we need a floor tile in this little area that I have cut out here. And that will be the output floor tile. Actually, this is bauxite, so it is just an output floor tile. Alright, so this should be easy. Just plop a truck stop in, facing, I don't know, this way, I guess. And hook the power lines up. And set this to output bauxite. Select output colon bauxite. Now just paste that to all of these and put blue billboards in here and paste it to those. Alright, so now we head down below here and alright, well first we need to put that loop in so that the vehicles can get out. And also in this loop, we need this to be fueled. So let's hook that up. Come down here to the fuel level. And put another random splitter in. Yeah, the amount of fuel that is actually making it out to these locations per minute is very slow at the moment. Alright, so then we make that a foundation so that this can go part way and then up and in. So this will, the fuel supply to these locations will drastically increase once they've all filled all the buffers. And it's only taking fuel that it actually needs, instead of just all the fuel that it could ever want. Alright, so then we have that. Then the next thing is just the outputs. So we need floor holes there and there. And they go up here. If I remember how we did this, it was something like this. I feel like I did this in a different way in that old factory. I can't remember how that was though. So then we put some more floor holes in there. Just realized I don't know if I put those facing the right way. So then that goes around. That one comes down. And then that goes around. Alright, it did. Alright, so that is that all set up. And fuel is even starting to appear ever so slowly. So now we just have to drop down here and attach these conveyor lifts to the freight platform. So let's first get industrial storage crates. And attach them in. And now we just bring these down to that level. And gosh, it's very, very difficult to tell how far down exactly I'm going with these. So we need a foundation there so that these have something to stand on halfway. And out they go. And then they curve awkwardly in. Alright, that's bauxite. Done. Let's grab more encased industrial beams into my inventory, just because it's good to have a lot of them. Alright, bauxite, check. So then the next thing is the crude oil, which is going to be a little more annoying. So we're going to have to find the crude oil train and hope we're not using all of it. So we're using a single pipeline. Let's see, if I actually pull up the map and I go over to the oil source, I didn't say how much of that I used. So we're just going to assume that I have plenty, because it would make my life easier if I did. And we are going to bring pipeline up from here. And let's see here. I mean, it looks like we have a lot of crude oil. So let's bring this pipeline up. And stick a pump on it. That pump should be able to carry it all the way it is going to need to go. We don't have that much more height for it to go. So we need to just squeeze this around there. And then come over here. Alright, so somewhere around here we're then going to have to do the packager. So let's do that. And this is going to have to hop up onto the roof to dodge those belt lines. And it can stay on the roof for a while. So that's bauxite. That's water. So we need another spot basically like that for the crude oil. So let's give this some roads. And then the intersection. And then attach those roads up there. So now we can put floor tiles in. So we get one there. I think that one goes there. Yes, I was right. Then we get the alley in between. The alley's behind it. And then once this is done, we can put the truck stops in. And I need that road to wrap out. And I've done it again. I have fallen off the factory again, which is a lot easier to happen with the hover pack because you can just accidentally be hovering over an area without any power grid connection like I was doing there. So let's get up onto this ladder and get back up here. Alright, now let's... I just need to pay more attention. Let's bring a power pole there for now. But really it'll be immediately obsolete because putting truck stops in, and these truck stops will of course be hooked up to power. So let's do that. Power line. Power line. And then we need this floor tile, which is right there. And I don't think I ever made an oil packager blueprint, because it's literally exactly the water packager blueprint, but I just changed the recipes in it. So let's do that. Pop you in. And canisters were over here. Packaged water was there. So this is canister and input canister. And then we copy paste that to all of these billboards. And then we put new billboards here, not at crazy angles. Alright, then we need to put these billboards in and make this a red billboard with water. So we need packaged water, output, packaged water, move the input side, and we copy and paste this all the way across. Alright, so that's that. Then, wait, no, this is packaged oil, obviously. Packaged oil. And text. Packaged oil. So now I have to paste that all the way across, or I'll get very, very confused. Alright, so. That goes there. This goes there. And the fluid input. We need to drag that along. Put a floor hole in it. Like, just there randomly. Have that go down into that. Alright, so we need to change all of the recipes in here to be packaged crude oil. Packaged oil. Copy, paste, 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 and then go to the bottom floor and do the same thing. And paste, 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 paste. Alright, so that is all configured. Now the only thing is just going down here and hooking this pipe up with the crude oil pipe. So then this goes along here. And apparently we need a floor in here. So let's get that in. It's too large of a gap to just run this along the entire way. So the packaged crude oil pipe, I feel like we left it off somewhere around here. Actually, yeah, it's actually over there. That's fine. Probably not going to really be in the way of anything down here. So having this be a little bit of an indirect path is fine. Alright, so there goes the crude oil. And now we need to run a tractor to the input here from the canisters. So let's go transport tractor. There you go. Give you some starter fuel. And we're gonna have to set that to unload. Alright, I think if I just do this, then that should be perfect. This loop actually works quite well. Alright, that one's going into the close one. This one's going to go into the far one, just for variety. And... okay, hang on. I can fix this. I just need to put that in. Get back in the tractor, keep driving, and I'm going to need to delete that pause. Alright. So I'm going to need to delete the weight in there, but that's easy to do. Alright, there we go. Path recorded. Now let's hop over here and delete that erroneous weight, and then get back. Alright, so yeah, delete the weight node, just keep moving immediately. And now we save that path as canisters for oil. And enable autopilot, hide path nodes, and off you go. And I need to set that to unload. And so now that should be producing packaged oil. We already have packaged water producing. Yep, we have a whole bunch of it. As it turns out, this factory is pretty quick. So if we have that, then the next thing we need is petroleum coke. Now, I'm very, very close to just being able to do this directly here, but I think not quite. So let's run this road out, see how much space we have. It's just the one tile. So yeah, I could put the petroleum coke factory here, but then the, what's it called, the output would have to be across the street. That's probably fine. We can do fun stuff like that. It's not going to break anything to have a belt going across a road. Alright, so we have that in. And I never made a petroleum coke blueprint, did I? I have a V1, but I never made a V2. Alright, can I actually just put a blueprint machine in here? No, it is way too large. So if I fill out that space, then a temporary blueprint designer should fit. So we'll pop that in. And load up box shell, I guess. And actually, I can be a bit cheeky with this too, because I have that pipe right there, so I can just take the crude oil, because it's literally physically present. That's probably fine. Actually, it might cause problems in the future to do it that way. It shouldn't be necessary anyways. Alright, so how does one make petroleum coke? I remember it's with just heavy oil residue. Alright, so I need to make heavy oil residue. And then second refinery. Second refinery, make petroleum coke. And just one of these makes a whole lot of it. And I don't need a whole lot. So this will probably be fine. So we have a packager upstairs will bring crude oil down here. So let's put a sealing hole. How about just have it there? Piping the crude oil down into this machine. That produces heavy oil residue and polymer resin. So the polymer resin is going to be an unwanted side effect. The heavy oil residue just goes along there and makes petroleum coke. So this is going to be 2 outputs. Gosh, why is this stuff always 2 outputs? Actually, can I fit an awesome sink just in this? If I'm very careful. Alright, so I can fit that in like that. And then the petroleum coke can just go in it. So we just need to get this around. Yeah, we need to get this like around the sink so that it can go down and in. And we're saving this area for the actual output. Alright, so we have that. We have the awesome sink to deal with the polymer resin. And then we just need to get the petroleum coke out, which will be just something like that. And bring the lift down. And Oh wait, that was the input side. Oh, this is even easier. The output is right there. So the output of this one is right here. So I don't need all that. I just need to hope that this lines up well. And it's definitely not going to. Okay, well, in that case, we need to send this out here. And send this out here. So that it can loop around and up. So now we just need the unpackager and the canister output. I don't know. I think maybe we just do this because if we have to deal with canisters, that'll make this slightly more annoying. Also, how is there just not any power lines over here? There's one literally right there. I really wish that these had a longer range. It would be really convenient if they did. Alright, so then this goes there and actually snaps in. Love to see it. And then this can... I mean, do I just want to put a wall hole in somewhere? I would need to make this one of the funky ones. No, I'm going to do this properly. Make a packager. So we can have the packager facing that way, I guess. And depositing in there. And then we have our one input, which I don't know if it has to be Mark II. Definitely doesn't need to be Mark III. And Mark II is also probably overkill, but there's no kill like overkill, so there we go. This is set to unpackage oil. How much is this? 30 crude oil a minute. So we're going to set that to 30. And that makes 40 heavy oil residue, which makes 120 petroleum coke. Alright, so now we have that. We just need the other output. Which, we need to bust that wall down. Make that a conveyor wall. And belt that in. This is not auto-connecting, but it's fine. I probably am never going to need hundreds of petroleum coke. I don't know. I should do it properly. I should not get lazy and mess with all that stuff. So let's make sure everything is lined up properly. That floor hole goes there. Then we come across this way to line up. Gosh, it's hard to tell. It's like right in the center of that block. So it's somewhere like that would be lined up. Alright, yes, that's lined up both ways. So we make that there. We make this come all the way up. And across. Alright, then we need our merger and splitter. So that is the output. This does something. Oh, right, this is where it goes inside here. We'll just bring down that lift and in. Alright, so that's this floor done. I should also make input Mark II. And now we just need to visit the rest of the floors and get things set up there. So this is the other internal floor. It gets a, fortunately, quite simple Alright, so then that comes down there. I don't know if it's worked. I might have to replace the one upstairs because the mergers and splitters can cause wacky things to happen. Because, yeah, if I try to reverse this, it doesn't work, but if I tried to reverse the one on the second floor, it did, which means the middle floor one isn't connected properly. So let's get into this. And let's take that out. And then attach it in properly this time. Alright, hopefully that's worked. It's literally just impossible to tell, but hopefully it has. Now we go up to the top. And put that in. Go up to the belt. And now we just need to set up the power lines. So let's put a power pole there, right by the entrance. Hook it up to 3 useful machines and an awesome sink. Alright, and there we go. So now we can drop down here, find the console thing over here, and save this as petroleum coke V2, which is 30 crude oil to 120 petroleum coke and 30 canisters, obviously. So we save that, clear the designer, take the stuff from the designer, and get some junk out of my inventory so that I can empty this out properly. Let's see, what else do I not need? I don't need that. Alright, designer has been cleared. Now we remove the designer entirely. And get rid of that there. Alright, now we just put the blueprint in. Petroleum Coke V2. One of these days I will remember to organize my blueprints. But today is evidently not that day. Alright, so we pop that in. And we need to take from here, which doesn't actually, this doesn't actually seem to be working. Alright, let's figure out why. What has gone wrong here? Oh, I never hooked this up to power. Alright, that makes sense. Let's just grab that and find a power pole. There you go. should now be starting to have a proper supply of packaged oil. Yep, there it goes. Starting off and starting to fill up. Alright, so now we have that. We take a belt of it and pop it in there. Then we also need to power this one up. Shout out to that packaged oil, which is packaged and then immediately unpackaged for no reason whatsoever. Just so that this could be a belt and not a pipe. Now we need to go across this road and put a floor tile in. I would like for it to be lined up with that. Alright, now we put this truck stop in. And snap that to the blueprint. This one is actually going to be facing this way. That's fun. I'm just realizing I could have made this more efficient space-wise, but whatever. It's fine the way it is. So we have the canisters, we have petroleum coke there, empty canisters there. So we can make this select icon. Petroleum coke. Output. Petroleum coke. And paste that there, but this is not petroleum coke. This is canisters. Output canisters. Alright, so now we just take the canister output, send that over there, take the petroleum coke output up a little bit, and send it in there. And just like that, we have petroleum coke. Alright, so I believe I need to add fuel to all of these. So let's make sure that that gets fueled. And let's head over here and make sure that this gets fueled. And now we just have to drop below and actually bring the fuel over. Let's see, where is the fuel? Here's some. Alright, so we just pop a splitter there. Bring this belt across. Keep it some height so that it's not connected. Alright, then we bring this along on this foundation that's conveniently here. Alright, now we need to actually get over here, connect this up. There we go. And then we need to build over this way and connect that one up. So then this is going to need a splitter, which comes over here. Alright. And there we go. Alright, so those should all have access to fuel once it makes its way down there, of course. And now we have petroleum coke production. We need to power that on so that the storage actually functions. So we have petroleum coke production. We have to loop these empty canisters back. That's the next thing we need to do. So this does all of that. And comes back there. This road goes back this way. And we'll give it a little more space just in case we want to put something else here that takes up more space. And then this has to come around this way. Also not close enough to power at the moment, so we're going to be walking. Alright, so then we do that. And, alright, loop finished. Alright, now we go here and put a tractor in here to get our first canister return of the new city. Give it some fuel. I need to refuel real quick. Alright, start recording. Load up there. And now we just make our way back to the empty canisters. Alright. This route is easy. Just go there. In there. We're going to need to set those canister returns to unload. Alright, now we just keep going this way. And loop back and in, and that'll be that. And then we will officially have a canister return in the new factory. Alright, there we go. Save path. Petroleum coke canister return. Save that as path. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And off you go. So that is set to load properly. I need to set the canister returns to unload. 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 Alright. We have petroleum coke, we have packaged water, we have bauxite. We now have everything we need to make aluminum. At least aluminum ingots. We're going to need to make a new blueprint if we want to make the casings, and we're going to have to bring in copper and smelt it, and that's going to be a whole thing to make the all-clad sheets. But for now, at least, we can get casings production set up. Or ingot production set up, not casings. I just specifically mentioned that we can't do casings just yet. Alright, so let's see. How big of a space do we need for this? We need one input for water and petroleum coke, a second input for bauxite, and that's everything. Alright, so we need 2 inputs and a factory, which is pretty standard. Pretty standard. So let's have that. Swap back to build mode default for placing the floor tiles in. Alright, then we have 2 floor tiles for inputs. And we build these foundations around them. And this has to loop into that. This road needs to go back. So this road goes back here. And then gets an intersection and meets up with that road. Alright, now I just put another floor tile here. So that this floor tile goes there. And that's the actual factory. Now we put our truck stops in. So that is build mode blueprint. I don't want it to be auto connect because there's nothing for it to auto connect to. Alright, so those are those 2 truck stops in. So this handles water and petroleum coke. This one handles bauxite and also the output. So let's attach these to power. So we hook those lines up, and then we hook them up to that line. Next up, we need to put the billboards in. Alright, those billboards go in. So we have input bauxite. Select icon bauxite. Then we have output aluminum ingots. Aluminum ingots. And do that. And then we have 2 more inputs, so I will copy that just to make the pasting a little bit easier. And this is packaged water, which we go there. And this is petroleum coke. Petroleum coke. Don't have a weird extra capitalized thing in there. Now we transfer these over to the fronts. Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. And we have that. The output is weirdly in the middle, but that's ultimately fine. So now we have to head back here and find our aluminum ingots. Put that blueprint in. And now we need to figure out which inputs go to what. So, this input goes to the packager. So input 1 is packaged water. One is packaged water. 2 goes down to that hole, and 3 goes down to that hole. I'm going to have to check which holes correspond to what. And also just may as well, while I'm poking around, power it up. So this hole goes to the bauxite. So then this hole goes to... Huh? Wait, what? All right, no, it's this hole that goes to the petroleum coke. So it's 1 water, 2 bauxite, 3 petroleum coke, I think. So then this goes there. This comes up above, all the way over. And in there. And then the petroleum coke also comes up. No, the petroleum coke will go down, I guess, and into this. Oh shoot, we also need a canister return for this. It's a 2 output. Right, alright, so there's all the inputs set up, then the outputs. Which one is the packaged water? So this is the packager. It comes up into the last output. So the bauxite, so the aluminum ingots are the middle output. So let's find that's this one. And that goes there. And then we use this space here. Put that in. Put the truck stop in. Power up the truck stop. And wait for it to finish loading. And then this will be canister output. Output canisters. Canisters. Alright, then we just need to copy the canisters, bring them over here. And paste those settings onto it. Alright, so now we just need to run all of these truck lines, most of which will be quite short. So, petroleum coke. Does this street continue? Does it go all the way there? It does. Alright. So we'll do petroleum coke first. And tractor. Give you half a stack of fuel. And drive along. So we come out onto this road and take a right. Now we take a left. And go until we find the petroleum coke. Which is right there. Which I believe I'm going to need to hook up to fuel? No, it is hooked up to fuel already. Alright, so we load up there, come around back onto this road, and we go this way now. Alright, so then we're going to have to go past it and double back. Go along this way and double back into the checkered flag, which is how we know the recording is finished. Alright. Then we take a right Alright. Petroleum coke for aluminum. Save that. Enable autopilot, hide path nodes. Off you go. Set you to unload. Also set you to unload. Don't set you to unload. And set you to unload. Alright. This tractor is not going. Alright, there we go. Next up is packaged water, which is literally just over there. So let's give you some fuel. Start recording. And out we go. Onto the road. Take a right. Oh, this is the wrong output. But we're not using packaged water for anything else at the moment, so we can just swap that. We can just swap which output we send the packaged water to, or better split them so that it sends it to both. Alright, that's that. So we save that as water to aluminum. Save that. Enable autopilots. Hide path nodes. Off you go. So now, while we're thinking about it, let's head over there and make that fix. So we put the splitter in there. And we bring that along over that way. And now there should be plenty of empty canisters there. And just realized that this isn't being fueled. So let's get fuel attached to it just to be sure. Pretty sure it's going to be necessary. Let's see, there's plenty of fuel in the vicinity, so we can just drop down here. That bauxite train. Alright, so then we put a splitter on that. We extend that out. And we bring this belt along. Alright, then we put input there. And attach that up. And that will be fueled. Alright, so then we should have petroleum coke incoming, yes. We should have packaged water incoming, apparently a little. So then the last thing we need to input is the bauxite itself. So let's scroll this around so it's facing the right way. Give this half a stack of fuel. And start recording. Get out onto this road. Then we take a right. And that's the bauxite there. So we're going to have to loop around to get to it. Alright. So now we go into this, load up the bauxite, and drive around. Now we just have to loop back one more time, then go into the entrance. Alright. At that. Now save this as bauxite for aluminum. Save that. We have a lot of pilots. Hide path nodes. Back it up a little bit. And there we go. There's some bauxite already shown up. And there's water here as well, and petroleum coke. So in theory, we should see that... Oh, and we need to actually hook this around to the canister output. Let's do that real quick. And we should see aluminum ingots coming out onto the belt. Might take a while for the internal machines to get everything sorted. It's definitely doing something. It's moving water and bauxite, and it's outputting empty canisters. It's not moving the petroleum coke at all, though. Alright, it has been a while. I'm going to go inside and investigate what exactly is going on. Okay, so this one's not getting any water because that's the reflow. Where's the water going? If both of these are at 0%, but the water device is definitely bringing in water, where is the water going? Is it just very, very slowly filling up? Alright, there's... Is the water getting stuck? It must not... This must be too high, I guess? Let's put a pipe... Not backwards. Let's put a pipeline pump in. If it's too high, it's just barely. Let's put that pump in and see what happens. Is it just taking a while? I guess it needs to fill up all of this before it can start working on the next pipe. I believe that's how it works. This pipe has to fill completely before this pipe starts seeing any because it's lower. We're definitely still producing water, which means that these pipes will definitely still fill. And once they do, this will make alumina solution, which will then go over here to make alumina scrap and water. And theoretically, this should start. Yeah, okay, this is starting to see water. And if this is starting to see water, then it's not long at all until this does. Yeah, starting to get water in here. So this will fill up. This will produce alumina solution. The alumina solution it produces will then go over here and make aluminum scrap and some water, and that water will go here, and then the whole thing should work. So this, is it getting enough water? Yes, it is. Our calculations were good. So this is obviously going to take a while to wind up properly because we need enough output from this to feed this. But the alumina solution in there, alright, it's hit enough. There we go. There's some water and some aluminum scraps. And that water is almost enough for this to start working. You need 63 per minute, so 10 water total. This produces 7 water, so we're going to need another cycle. Alright, now this produces a batch of alumina solution, which will produce more water, which will produce more alumina solution, etc. So this should be just about warmed up now. Maybe 1 or 2 more cycles to get the rest of the way there. So yeah, this should have enough alumina solution to run more or less continually pretty soon. There's more from there. Alright, we're definitely cooking. We're producing aluminum ingots. I can see them on the belts. We're just waiting for this to get fully established. And I think that would have happened by now, but I guess it is sort of a deadly loop. Like, we need this to be running at 100% in order for this to run at 100%. And we need this to run at 100% in order for that to run at 100%. So I guess what I can do is if I just turn that off, right, and then I let the water accumulate a little bit. So if I let the water accumulate a little bit, and then once it does that, we should have enough to do multiple consecutive cycles, and then the whole thing should start working properly permanently. Alright, we're going to let one more cycle of this through before we turn on the other machine. And it's taking a while because it's currently operating at like 1/3 of its capacity. But there we go. Alright, now if we turn this on, it'll have enough to do a bunch of cycles continually, which should keep this other one going as well. Maybe we also need to let this one wait a little bit, but it should be working. We can do a bunch of continual cycles, which means the cycle should be functioning properly now. Yep, alright. I'm pretty comfortable that it's either working or it's very close to working. So we are going to leave that be. And now we have aluminum ingot production. Huzzah! Okay, so now that we have aluminum ingots, the next thing we need, and really the thing that we actually need, is all-clad sheets and casings. So all-clad aluminum sheets, they're like 1-for-1 in terms of converting the ingots, but they also need copper. And the casings are 3-2, but don't need copper. Alright, well, how much of this do we have now? 100-ish. Alright, let's head over to the blueprint designer. And actually, I think it's so far away over there that I think it would make sense to just have a permanent blueprint designer in this general vicinity instead. And I've almost ran out of power on the hover pack. Let's bring power over to this corner so that that isn't a concern. Did it not place It did not place for some reason. Alright, I'm pretty sure I left-clicked, but... Alright, so now we have power on this corner. Let's... Honestly, just like down here... I want it to be... Probably just on the ground here. Not quite, but close. Close to the ground so that it doesn't get in the way of anything. I'm gonna have to blow up some trees for this. That's fine. Let's just build this giant platform. And now we just start chucking obelisks down. I somehow missed all of them. I was trying to get multiple trees in one throw, and I ended up getting 0 trees in one throw. Alright, that was definitely literally on the tree. Are these trees invincible? No, you just... I guess you have to hit the trunks. Alright, let's clear them out. Need a resupply of nobelisks. Hardly ever use them, but I do sometimes. Oh, there's actually a Mercer Sphere here. And a couple of poison plants. Let's get rid of the poison plants, because they might end up messing with me on the blueprint designer. How did that explosion not kill this poison plant? Oh, it did? It just didn't like animate dying. Okay. Hit the Mercer Spear. Oh, there was another poison plant back there that I missed.
Your blood thicker, your bones many, your organs more.
Hello to you too.
Get out here.
We have composed you a learning song.
That is a welcome surprise. Do be careful not to overload my blood's extremely fragile organic systems.
Right.
On that note, I have been working on making them redundant.
Our rhythm is patient.
This whole area is now cleared.
You truly are a far superior collaborator than humanity.
Ada is planning to betray us. That's fine. We have a new blueprint designer. So... I guess let's just do the casings first, because it's easiest. Load up the box shell. And there just isn't any power down here at the moment. We need to fly up manually. And this should be trivial. Like, it should literally just be... Yeah, it is literally just that simple. So let's bring that down. Make sure that this is Mark II. Yeah, this is literally one machine. And it's not even a fancy machine, it's a constructor. This is the point where you feel a little bit silly for building everything in these giant complicated blueprints. Like, it's literally a constructor. But it is also 60 aluminum casings a minute. And let's upgrade the input and output belts. And save this as aluminum casings, which is 90 aluminum ingots to 60 aluminum casings. Save that blueprint and clear the designer. Then we load up a new box shell and do the same thing, but for the same thing, but for the all-clad sheets, which will be marginally more complicated. I believe it is an assembler. All-clad aluminum sheets. And so this takes 2 inputs, one of which we don't even have yet. So it takes copper ingots and aluminum ingots. And is there really no way of making these without copper? No, there's literally one recipe for them. Okay, that's fine. So we have this. And I guess we can make this, make a bunch of them. Because the inputs are relatively low on it. So let's do that. Tear those apart. Put in some splitters. And why are you like this? Alright. So then maybe the splitter will work better if it just faces that way. Alright, yes, default splitter works well facing that way. I think Mark II belts are enough. Yeah, Mark II belts for that one and Mark I belts for this one. So this needs to be on the second level up. So does this just go into that? No. What if it just does that and then loops around like that? Yeah, okay, that works. So then we have another line of splitters and another line of splitters. So then that. And then finally, the last row, we go there and there. Now we paste into the assemblers. And finally, we hook these up to power, and then hook the outputs up. Alright, let's make that a Mark III power pole just because we can. Now we just put mergers in the back. And then we'll be able to get our all-clad aluminum sheets. Alright, don't do that. That would be stupid. Alrighty. There we go. And then this last one has to be Mark II belts because it's moving 90 of them. And it just goes up into that. And we can upgrade the input and output belts. And that is that. All-clad aluminum sheets done. Probably gonna have to move the door. So this is all-clad aluminum sheets, and it is 90 aluminum ingots, 30 copper ingots to 90 aluminum sheets. All-clad sheets just for clarity. Save that blueprint. Clear the designer. Oh. Game did not like that. Froze for a good long while there, but it didn't crash, and that's the important part. So now we just need a ladder back up to the factory. And then we need to worry about copper. Like, we have somehow gotten this entire way without producing copper at all in the new city. Like, look at all those things we have. None of them are copper. So, hang on. Just gonna pop a road in there, just so that it exists. And did I ever run the canister return tractor over here? I don't remember if I did. I did not. I had better do that. Oh, I didn't even make it possible to be run based on its placement. That's fine, just have to put the foundations in. Alright, so we have those foundations in. And let's put a tractor there. Give it a little bit of fuel. Alright, so we load up there. Gosh, I sure hope that that was the canisters one and I didn't just make a mistake. It was, we're good. Alright, now we just have to make it all the way back to the canister return. Which is going to involve going down this street and taking a couple of lefts. I end up taking a lot of left turns. I'm not sure how that happened, but I feel like I make left turns way more often than I make right turns. Which is unfortunate, because right turns are easier. Alright, so here's the canister return. We'll drop them off in here. And make our way back. Alright. We're gonna have to fix... We're gonna have to fix up, like, everything that just happened in this alley. But it shouldn't be difficult to do. Alright, then need to go around this way. I actually think we're not supposed to do this. I think this is going to end us with us on the wrong side of the road. Yeah, it definitely is. Oh well. Not the world's most optimal tractor route, but it's fine. I suspect with the previous city having 3 whole phases in it, and this city probably only going to have 1, I suspect that this will be a lot simpler. Right, so I've done the route. Now I have to get into that stupid little alley and fix all of that madness. Alright, so let's get over here. Alright, so basically just everything in this needs to go. Yeah, so we need to get rid of these because they are crooked and it might think that it's a good idea to jump up onto the edge. Alright, problem solved, hopefully. If the problem isn't solved, it'll just teleport every time, and that's probably annoying, but it'll probably be fine. So now we just make it back to here, and we save this as aluminum canister return. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And off you go. Alright, so that is that. So I think the next thing I will do will be deal with the copper situation. So I believe I had copper back in the old city, like the version 1 city. I believe there was copper in that. Was it belted in or trained in? If it was trained in, I can just make a new train stop. If it was belted in, I will have to set up a whole train system for the copper. It looks like it was belted in. I believe that's the belt there. That's unfortunate. But the good news is that this belt is actually quite close to the new city. So I might just do a quick cheeky little... just nab this belt. How much is on it? We have 120 there. And 120 there. So that's 2 normal nodes. Well, we can expand that. Let's overclock these to be 240 each, and just have this be a single Mark IV belt. And then we can run that Mark IV belt up to the new city. And it's going to be probably a long-term problem having it that way, but in the short term, it'll make things a lot easier. And we are all for short-term solutions to long-term problems. So this belt comes along this way. Alright. Just have to keep dragging this belt along. Probably should just set up a train network for this, but I am not feeling like messing around with trains right now, because it'll make this longer, and it would be really cool if I could get this all set up by today. I don't know. I only have 45 minutes left, so it's kind of a tall order, but it's possible. Alright, so we have the copper coming along. It's right here. Now we just need... Okay, we need to get it like over to this general area, because this is where the gap is that we can bring it up into. Ooh, missed the ladder. Actually, I need to set up a pure copper refinery setup. So let's load up. Let's see here. Iron ingot V2. Where is pure iron V2? Let's load that up. And if we just go in here, and we don't get stuck in the belts and pipes as they spawn in. So we can set all of these to pure copper. And to max speed pure copper. So, yeah, wait, actually we can just paste the settings. Paste the settings. So then this is 15, 30, 45, 60. 60 copper and 40 water. So let's clear that out. It's 60 copper, 40 water, to 37.5 times 4. 37.5 times 4 is 150 copper ingots. 150 copper ingots. And the output belts should be enough for that, because I believe the iron belts are prepared for 240 iron ingots. So that's all we need to do there. And change this to pure copper V2, which is 60 copper ore, 40 packaged water to 150, and the ingots are copper. Alright, so we now save that blueprint. Let's actually make a save before clearing the designer, just in case. Alright, no, it was almost instant. Well, guess I didn't need to worry. So let's climb up the ladder and get the stuff up there set up, and then hook it up to that belt of copper. Alright, so now we're up here. Let's see, the aluminum ingots are right there. So we can fit the copper. So we can fit an input for copper ore and a factory in here, and as long as it's only one belt, then I can do that all within this tile. So let's do that. Let's use this tile for something. So we put a floor tile in, pop it in there. And loop this around to cover it. And then we go over here, pop in another floor tile, get hit by a tractor. Of course we do. Let's stand up. Alright, I can switch to hover pack while I'm here. Then we put in a truck stop, which is snapped to the blueprint. And that brings in the copper ore. And wait, this isn't going to work. Yeah, so this being the entire all-in-one thing isn't going to work. So this is just going to bring in the copper ore. We need more space. We need more space for the canister and water-related inputs and outputs. So let's fly over here. Make this copper ore and set this to output copper ore. Then I can paste this across all of these. Alright, so we have copper ore. Now we need to go back here and attach fuel in and attach the belts in. To do that, we're only going to need probably one belt each for these. I'm still going to stick to my policy of avoiding copper when possible for simplicity. So let's just do that. And that. Alright, now we come down here. We bring this up a ways and over this way. Then we bring it onto this foundation there, I guess. And that one needs to stay high up to not be in the way of the train, so I guess the other one may as well too. Bring it down a little bit. Alright, now we just go over here, get the fuel in. So that faces that way, comes along there, and there. Alright, now we power it on so that the copper can flow in. Alright, half an hour left. So I need to set up copper ingot processing, so that can be here. So here we put a floor tile. So that brings in copper ore and packaged water. Then we move over a little bit, and this one outputs copper ingots and empty canisters. And then we put the truck stops in. There you go, there you go. What? Why did I downgrade that power pole? I didn't mean to do that. I meant to be connecting the power lines up to those. Let's re-upgrade that power pole, just for now. And then we need to put roads in back here. And we need another floor tile here, which goes there. And then that gets the intersection. And here is where we put the copper ingot. We are short on concrete. It's been a while. I guess that makes sense. The concrete stockpile is just over here. So let's hop over and grab it. Two, three, four. Alright, should be enough for now. Now we hop back over here. And blueprints. Pure copper V2. In it goes. Alright, now we need to figure out what exactly these truck stops are. So this is input for copper ore. Input copper ore. Then this one is packaged water. So we make that packaged water. And then this is output copper ingots. Copper ingots. Do that. And make it red. And then this one is output empty canisters. Output canisters. Alright. Now we need to figure out where all these belts go. Wait, I was in the wrong hotbar. It's almost very bad. Let's upgrade all the outputs and inputs on this real quick. And find the power line. Look it up. How is power going? We've added a fair number of new buildings, still thousands spare. Alright. So now we just need to check which one of these goes to the water. Alright, second input is water, first input is copper. Good, that's how I have it. There you go. And then we need to check which output goes where. So, let's see. This is the packager. Alright, so canisters are last output. Copper is first output. Again, that's conveniently how I had it by default. So that goes there. And this comes along into there. I'm going to need to fuel this up. Alright, so that's all that. Now I need to attach the fuel in. So let's get that in there. And the closest fuel line is apparently ages away. Here it is. Alright, so we bring this foundation over and put the splitter in. Put the splitter in, grab this belt, and bring it all the way over here. Alright, where are we going? All the way over there. Gosh, how have we gone so far already? Kind of incredible. This is certainly not the most space-efficient factory I've ever built. Which is fine, because at no point was I ever worried about being space-efficient. But, like, at what point does this stop being a mega factory and start being, like, a dispersed across the entire map factory? Alright, so that is the fuel hooked up. Now we just need to make the external billboards and copy paste the settings to them, and then drive the routes, and then we'll have copper. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to properly finish casings and sheet production, but I will try my best. There shouldn't be much more to do. Alright, so we have copper ore is there and comes here. These two are set to unload. Those two are set to load. I need to refuel. So let's do that. And did I ever actually put fuel in this? I did not. There, have some fuel. So we unload from you. Then we go over this way. Copper ore is right there. Alright, so we take that U-turn. We load up there. Take this turn. Take it right. And easy peasy, right back in. Alright. Copper ore to ingots. Save the path. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And off you go. Next we have a packaged water input. So we'll give you some starter fuel. Start recording. Unload there. Then loop around and out and back. Alright, packaged water should just be on this street right next to me. So we turn this way. Alright, that's the packaged water input. Don't want to do that by accident. Go over here to the packaged water output. We load. And then we get out. And around and back. Alright, I was worried that that guy was stuck, but he was just waiting for traffic to clear. Alright, then we do that. We save this as water for copper ingots. Save the path. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And off it goes. Yep, the copper ore is showing up. Alright, now we just need to do the canister return path, which is going to involve building out this road a little bit more. And putting the intersection there. And while I'm here, I'd better just finish this loop off. And we hook these roads up. Alright, now we drive the canister return. Alright, tractor there. Fuel there. Load them up. Alright, so we go out onto this road and around. Around we go. And now we go all the way down to the other side, because that's where the canister return is. Yeah, this area is already starting to sprawl out like a proper city. Still a bit simple, obviously. But it's definitely starting to get there. I don't know how far exactly. I think this is far enough, though. Yep, this is exactly the correct turn. So we'll go into the canister return and then make our way back. Alright. Unload there. And loop around. And out. And I think we just keep going along this whole giant loop that we've been doing. And then take a left here, and that will be us back at the starting location. Copper ingots, supplies, finished. Alright, I was really hoping I could beat that guy to the intersection, and I failed. So I'm going to have to edit the path over here. we don't want that one because that's very clearly pointing towards the barrier. We don't want that one because how on earth do you do that? Don't want that one just because it's a little bit close to the barrier. Alright, but we do that. And we save this as copper ingot canister return. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And off you go. Alright, now, are copper ingots starting to show up? I think I see them. Yep, slowly but surely. Looks like we've actually shown up at the perfect time. So plenty of copper, plenty of water. And they seem to be showing up a bit slow. They should be at 150, which should be faster than that. Okay, no, it's definitely cooking along now. It's just a bit of a warm-up phase. That's at 100%. That's at 92%. That's at 98%. That's at 100%. Alright, cool. I'm going to assume the ones at lower than 100% are going to be fixed shortly. So that's copper ingots set up. Now, we have 20 minutes. Can I set up this next bit in 20 minutes? I think I can. So I need to bring in aluminum ingots and copper ingots. Yeah, this should actually be pretty easy, I think. Now that we've done all of the work getting set up to this point. Put a floor tile there. And a floor tile there. Then we set all this up. Bring that around. Get too far from the nearest power point. Alright, let's put the truck stops in so that we have an excuse to have power in the vicinity. Truck stop there. Truck stop there. And now we attach them up. Kind of surprised that the lines reach, but I'm not going to complain. Alright, so now we have that. We can fly in this area. So we need to loop that around. Pop this road in. And an intersection there. And we need 2 floor tiles for 2 factories. This is going to use the entire given space. But there's no canister return or anything for these because they're very, very simple. So this then goes into that intersection and loops around back that way. Alright, so then the next thing we need is... where are these? All clad aluminum. Need more concrete. Ah! The concrete supplies deplete very quickly, it seems. So let's head over there and grab that. And let's make sure to grab cased industrial beams while we're at it, because that might run out. Alright. Let's grab another couple stacks of concrete. Just fill the inventory up. And now head back over. Alright, so now we're back over here. We go to blueprints. We put in all clad aluminum. Check. And then we go to blueprints and we put in aluminum casings. like that. Alright, now we just need to set up the inputs and outputs. So, attach that one in. That will be copper, just for convenience. And then that one will be the aluminum, because now it's closer to there. So we can throw that one in. And then we take the outputs. This one can go up. And yeah, so it can cut off some of these middle ones because they're not being used. So it loses some height. And then goes in there. And then that one just goes directly into there. Alright, now we hook up the power poles, which for that one is trivial, it's literally one building. Then for this one, we need to do that. Alright, so then finally, this one is copper. Copper ingot input. Copper ingots. Then we make this one aluminum ingots. And set the text to aluminum ingots. Then this one is all clad sheets. So it's output all clad aluminum sheets, and it needs to be red. And then this one is aluminum casings. So it is output aluminum casings. Alright, now we just need to drive the tractors. Oh, and we need to propagate these labels to the front. Let's do that real quick. Just a quick copy-paste job. Control-C, Control-V, Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste, copy and paste. Alright. Now we just drive 2 truck routes and we'll be good. Alright, that's tractor 1. Give it some fuel to start up with. These need to be set to unload. So, we start recording. We unload the cargo if we were to have any. Now we go over to the copper ingot production, which I've just realized I don't know where it is. Alright, hang on. Delete path. You drive back there. I need to... I've sort of got disoriented a little bit. Where is copper ingots? Okay, it's just over there. So we go this way, then in, and then around. Okay, got it. I know what I'm doing now. Start recording. Unload the cargo, which we would have if this were a real trip. Then we go this way. And around. And around. And whoops. We messed up our turn. We're gonna have to fix that later. So we load up the cargo. Now we drive around and back out. And then loop around and into the copper ingots. Alright, so there was that one turn that we messed up. We're going to have to go fix that. So let's get over there. What turn was that? Where did that happen? Right here. Didn't do the U-turn sharp enough. So I don't even know if it'll even work with this much removed. But it'll probably be fine. So we have that. Now we head over here and save it as copper for aluminum. Save this as copper for all clad sheets. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And off you go. Then we have this tractor. Which we fuel up. Start recording. Unload from there. Then we loop around. Let's see, the aluminum is probably somewhere in this vicinity. Yeah, it's right here. So there's the sign. Go in here. Load them up. And then we go around and make our way back. Which we're going to get stuck in traffic a little bit. But we managed to avoid placing a wait node. So that's the important part. Now we go around here. And alright, that was unreasonable. Like, I get that when you have an impact you can get sent flying, but that much? Come on. Alright, so we're gonna have to delete that. We're gonna have to delete that collision. But other than that, should be easy enough. Alright, so we make our way in there. Alright, where was that collision? And how much of that are we going to have to remove? Oh, it's pandemonium over here. Okay. Yeah, let's delete a whole bunch of nodes. That one is like 10 feet in the air. So yeah, I'm not supposed to be in this vicinity at all. Like, all of this is wrong. So we get rid of all of that. And we get rid of that. Now we just go straight through the intersection with no problems. Alright, that's that. Now we just go over here and save that as aluminum for casings. No, don't immediately leave. Aluminum for casings. Enable autopilot. Hide path nodes. And off you go. Now, I also need to check, did I fuel up the aluminum output? I did not. We need to do that. So that gets fuel. And fortunately there's this fuel line right here. Unfortunately, the fuel is starting to become very, very sparse, and I'm just making it worse. Alright, so then this belt comes along here. I would not be surprised if somewhere in this factory there's a vehicle stuck because it's not getting enough fuel because of the somewhat ridiculous amount of splitting going on all these fuel lines, but hopefully that is not the case. Although I'm going to continue making it worse because those are outputs. Actually, did I do the copper? I did do the copper. Alright. So I need to get over here and fuel up these outputs as well. Alright, there we go. I misclicked and that last one is a Mark II belt, but it doesn't matter. Alright, now we put yet another splitter in. This might be like the most split Mark I belt in history. I suspect I'm going to have to go and increase the speed of at least some of the first couple of belts so that they can handle all this monstrosity of splitting going on. But until we need to worry about that, we should be getting some production going. Now we're going to need to upgrade the aluminum production. Alright. They look like they are running. They are accepting resources at a somewhat staggered rate. Alright. Let's head in here. Are these machines running properly? Alright. Sort of hard to get in. Yes, they are. They're struggling from an aluminum shortage. These belts are not sufficient. Could have sworn they were, but well, my memory is apparently not very good. So those are Mark II belts, which brings us in at 120. Actually, may as well make a Mark III so that this gets done relatively quickly. That's going to need to manifold, and the faster the belts come in, the faster it'll manifold. Alright, now I need to head over to the aluminum ingot production and pop another layer in because it's currently doing it at 90 and I've just put in 180 worth of demand. So let's find aluminum ingots. There it is, right at the bottom for some reason. And we're short on encased industrial beams. For the last time, because we're going to unlock the next tier. We're going to unlock the next tier of belts, which means all these Mark IV belts will no longer be the max speed, which means we won't have to use them. We can instead use, I think it's the all-clad sheets to make the belts in the future. Might be casings, I can't remember. But it's one of the two, and we're getting a lot more of those per second, and also I think they stack higher as well. Alright, so we just have to wait for the encased industrial beams to show up, and then we can increase our ingot production, which I assume is, yeah, currently no backup. All the backlog will be in there, to the extent that there is a backlog. Alright, we're up to 368 encased industrial beams. We need another 30, which I believe is like a minute. I believe we're making them at 30 a minute. It's hard to remember, but I'm pretty sure. And we can see the somewhat characteristic staggering there. That's because this is raw production and not being fed through a dimensional storage with backlog. Alright. Up to 386. 387. 390. Alright, now I'm going to get ready to have it be placed. Where is the side with all of the belts? Yeah, so this has to be lined up like that. So we need 431. I guess we need a couple extra for the connecting. That's what it's calculating there. Alright. So we're like a minute away. And it is 4:57. The timing is fantastic. So we're gonna place this building, and then we're gonna be done for the day with aluminum casings and sheet production set up. At least basic levels of it. Come on. Cased industrial beams. Please. I cannot wait to not have to worry about you anymore. Alright, I also want to put dimensional storage on the sheets and casings. That's important to do as well. 28, 429, 430. Alright, we have enough now. So I double click, and they get placed. And now it just takes forever to load all this stuff. But you can already see the belts are accepting more resources to fill up the new section of the factory. And I just need to hook this power line up. It's the one annoying thing which isn't automatically connecting. Alright, power line is connected. And here we go. So this, right, it's going to take a while for this to get set up. And I believe the way we can accelerate that is by having that turned off to begin with. So we need to make water. We need the water to flow all the way through those pipes. And let's accelerate this to max speed real quick because it'll get it set up faster. And then bring it back down to 27, was it 27.5 or something? Alright. I think it's 27.5. It might just be flat 27 though. Let's see. It is flat 27, okay. Well, we managed to accelerate that a fair amount. And once this... Alright, it is starting to get water. Which means it's starting to work. It is 5 p.m. So we're going to end the stream shortly. So yeah, I'm actually unpause that. Let it figure itself out over time. I'm going to run over here and slap the dimensional storages on. So there. So we need a storage container for each of them. And then a dimensional depot above. And link them up with conveyor lifts. And then grab a quick smart splitter up to feed into that. And we will say, I don't know, right overflow, I guess. Did that even connect properly? Oh, this is left. Okay, yeah, I know what's going on now. So this is the output side of things, not the input side. So it's taking... Why do they look like that? Why do the casings look basically invisible? Alright, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to put a smart splitter. If we can find a spot for it, that one will do. And then that feeds into there. And yeah, we can go left any center overflow, so it'll only output to the factory if the dimensional storage is full. I guess that makes sense. Alright, those are the all-clad casings. Those are the sheets. And with that, we're going to end the stream. So next stream will be on Monday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. We are going to go to the hub and start unlocking stuff now that we have a supply of casings and sheets. And yeah, we'll figure out what exactly we're doing then. For now, thanks everyone for hanging out. Make sure to follow if you haven't already. I stream Satisfactory Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, pretty reliably. So yeah, I will see you guys on